You know what's harder than caregiving? Talking to your family about it. Because the minute you bring up the topic that you need some help or you want to share the load, things get really awkward. They they kind of shut down. It's not that they don't want to help, is that they just don't get it. They don't understand your life truly. And, sometimes they just disappear. Or sometimes they say they're going to help, they'd love to help, but they don't follow through. And then just thinking about it, sometimes, that makes you feel even more alone or even resentful because this conversation is hard. You're doing the hardest job in the world, but it matters. It matters that you can't do it all on your own. So I want to give you a way in to make this easier for you. So let me set it up this way. You're not asking people for help. You're inviting them in to a life that they really don't understand. Because to them, it looks like you've got it all handled. I don't know how many times people say that we make it look easy. Well, the 29 steps that we go through every single morning just to get Ben out of bed and the hundreds of micro decisions we do every day, that takes its toll. But we've been doing it for so long that it does make it look easy. But that doesn't mean we don't need any help. Your family's not trying to be absent, but they haven't lived your life, so they really don't know. So the goal for you to get them involved isn't guilt or pressure or make them feel bad because you're doing all this work. It starts with the plan, and it starts with inviting them in to be part of that plan. Before you start the conversation, get clear on what you really need help with. Be specific. It's not just help. Maybe it's picking up the prescriptions at the pharmacy once a week or whatever the frequency is. Maybe it's, Saturday mornings, I just need an hour to myself and having that person involved. Or maybe it's ride to doctor's appointments. You can't do it every week. Whatever it is, figure out what you need the most help now and write it down. Because when the time comes and they say, where can I help? You've got an answer for them. So what you want to do is set the tone. You don't want to set a trap. The fastest way people shut down is if they feel your frustration and they sense that you're trying to guilt them. So what you want to do is have a conversation more like, the last couple of months have been really hard. And I'd really like to talk to you about maybe there's some ways that we can, kind of work together to share the load. And maybe you won't use those words, but it's more of inviting them in so that they can be part of the conversation. That's because that's not a trap. It actually creates space for them to think about where they might get involved. Not everyone is built for hands-on care. Maybe your sister's great with money, so leverage that and get her to help with some of the financial stuff if that's where you need help. Or maybe you've got a cousin that's a really good cook. Ask them to get involved too. And the second part of that is, get them to write it down. So if your cousin has this great lasagna recipe, get them to write it down. Match the ask to their strengths. Not everybody can give the same kind of support, but when it becomes a team effort, that's where the real magic happens. And here's a bonus: get them to write it down. Get that cousin of yours, if that's who it is, to write down that recipe, to document it, because then it becomes part of the family system, the family's documentation, and not just yours. And that's the shift from asking for help to invited shared ownership. So it turns the relationship from transactional of where can I help or where I need your help to something that's more collaborative. And that's where the momentum really starts to take off. I'm going to say it again. You got to put it in writing because people forget. People have busy lives, or some people are just scatterbrains, and life gets messy and things get complicated. So writing it down, having it down in your pink book is really, really important. Because when expectations are unclear, when it's not written down, that's where resentment starts to come in, because then you start to judge on how they're doing, or they may feel like they're not living up to what you expect of them. So with the pink book, you see, it keeps everybody on the same page, literally. And the other beauty of it is that they're helping you build the pink book, so it's not just yours, it becomes the family's. So having this conversation doesn't mean they're going to step up, right? But not having it guarantees that they definitely won't. So take the first step, get clear, write it down, and make the first ask. Put it in writing and involve them in the system, because the more they're involved, the more ownership they're going to take, and the more involved they're going to become, which is going to lighten your load significantly. You don't need everyone to get it right. You just need one or two people to start showing up in a real way that's really helpful. And that's the pink book. That's the system, that's the framework you can use to get all this down so everyone's organized and the expectations are super clear. If you want to learn more about it, just put pink in the comments and we'll send you some information on it. It can be a real game changer for you. And of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel, because the more people that subscribe, the more families we can help. Have a great rest of your day.